All right, welcome everybody. Due to some technical issues, I'm starting a couple of minutes late, but it should be working now. So hopefully the audio is good. Hopefully everything's working all right. Let me just check this and see if we've got a picture. Yeah, we do. Looks like my preloading screen didn't work, but we are good to go. Awesome. So welcome everybody. I know it's been 4 weeks since I did my last live stream, I think, like official Q&A kind of thing. So if you have any questions about guitars, amps, pedals, whatever, feel free to let me know, or playing live, or anything that revolves around any of that stuff, or even YouTube questions. I don't really mind. All right, so I've just moved in the chat over here so I can see what's going on. Welcome everybody. Fishy Paw. We've got Tony, Phil, Simon. Welcome everybody. Craig, how you doing? So sorry about the start there. I tried this new Streamblind YouTube live thing, which doesn't seem to work properly. So I'm going to stick with this old one until it looks like it ends up getting dissolved like most of the features that we love. All right, I'm just going to make the chat a bit bigger. All right, so I'm in a weird setup right now. I think the easiest place to have the comments is over here. So if I'm looking away, I'm looking at the comments. All right, welcome everybody. My Samick-made Jupiter reissue is really nice. Awesome stuff. Samick don't, they make some all right stuff. I remember back in the day, they probably weren't like regarded as one of the nicer like guitars. But then is it Greg Bennett? Was that the guy's name? Or got on board and they made some really nice guitars for their price. We've got Quentin, welcome man. What's my best cheap tube amp? Probably the Artist Tweed Tone 20. I would consider that cheap based on how great it is compared to amps much more expensive than it. The Artist Tweed Tone's pretty tough to beat. Look, if you're looking for something just small and fun, the Joyo Bantamp amps are really good too, even though they're kind of like Class D power section and they've got a 1287 in there and they're not a traditional sort of valve or tube amp. They're pretty good. And most people who get those are pretty happy with it. And you've got an effects loop too, so you can run reverb through it, run delay and all that kind of stuff. But that would be my favorite out of what I've got. The other one too that I really liked was the Joyo Sweet Baby amplifier. It was like a little, kind of like a Fender clone. It has 5 watts, works well with pedals. Doesn't work so well cranked. It sort of didn't clip as nicely as I thought it would. It's actually got a V6 in there too, so kind of a little bit like a Deluxe reverb on the power section. It's just got a single one of those. Pretty good. Barefoot Mode, welcome. Greetings from Georgia. Welcome, Adrian. Might be over that neck of the woods maybe June or July next year. I'm in the process of hopefully working some of that out pretty soon. Simon says he has a 22-year-old Delta Blues and need a backup for the aging beast. What suggestions do you have? Look, it just depends. I mean, you could still go buy another Delta Blues if you wanted to. They're still getting made. They're just made in China now as opposed to where yours would have been made in the US. So, I mean, if that's a concern, so I would say, being that you like probably the 15-inch speaker, don't go any smaller than a 12. I really like Blues Deluxe reissue amplifiers. Once you change the speaker out, I think they're arguably like one of the best all-in-one combos for pedals. If you want something with a good drive channel, probably go for the Hot Rod Deluxe. But if you're a clean pedal player, then or you want a good clean pedal platform, just you can go for either the Hot Rod Deluxe or the Blues Deluxe. But I think the Blues Deluxe has a bit more sort of poke in the mix. I really like it. We got Muhammad from Indonesia. Welcome. Is that a Pac-Man thing? Yeah, it's a little ghost. A little while back, unfortunately, I broke the guitar lamp that I had. I got tangled in a cable, and as I was pulling the cable out, these LED lights, they're so fragile, and the ones that lasted the longest were the ones that I liked the least. The palm tree. I think I've still got the pineapple in the other room. I don't even use that one. I don't like that one. But I saw this, and I was like, for $10? And look, it responds to sound. You can set it like that, or it can cycle through different colors. So I kind of like it. It's just adds a bit of character and a bit of background ambience to the room here. Cheesy but fun. It's a game that came out right around when I was born, I think. Guitar Ray from Perth, welcome. We've got Steve from Melbourne. Turbo says he's ordered a couple of artist bullbuckers the other day. Keen to try them out in the Epiphone SG 400. They're really great pickups. I think the bullbuckers, especially in that Les Paul, some of the best, like, I don't want to really call them cheap, but they're inexpensive, you know, like, they sound cool and you can split coil them, all that kind of stuff. So I think you'll be pretty happy with it. Do I like Epiphones at all? Absolutely. Like, I owned a Epiphone Dot and played that for years. That was my main guitar for a long time. I've also owned 2 Les Pauls as well. I had a black one, and I had like a tobacco-y kind of burst one ages ago as well. But I don't own any right now. It's not because I don't like them. I've got my Tokai, so I'm pretty much sorted in terms of that. No, I really think like Epiphones and Squiers are some of my favorites based on what you get out of them, you know. They're absolutely. Jamal, welcome, man. Hey, we've got Zach here as well. Welcome. So this would be pretty much a relaxed kind of live chat. If anyone has any questions, I'm going to try and time code this after as well. I know everyone asks for the time codes. It's just hard to sometimes watch it back and then do all of that because it takes ages, but I'm going to try my best to do it. So we'll probably go for about an hour and then I'll time code it afterwards. So we'll see how we go there. But yeah, we've got some cool videos coming up for hopefully the rest of the month. I'm doing about 6 a week, I think, until Christmas time. So I got lots of cool stuff. The Boogie amp that you've seen, the Fillmore 50, which you might have seen on the microphone comparison, that video will go up in the next few days. It's been great having Rick on a few of the videos too. You know, he came up with those awesome backing tracks for the Harley Bentons and stuff. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. I'm going to see if I can twist his arm to do one more podcast with me in the other room before the end of the year if he's got time. But if not, we'll get back on it early next year. 1980s Pac-Man. Oh, there you go. Yeah, right around my time. 6 a.m. in Louisville, Kentucky. Far out. Guys are up early. I know it's a bit of a weird time for a live stream, but I thought I'd jump on. It's been 4 weeks. Can you use a 6-string guitar amp to drive a bass speaker enclosure with a bass guitar? You can. Yeah, absolutely. You're not going to hurt the amp. I've seen that, at least to my knowledge anyway, I've seen that done so many times at jam nights where like the bass head doesn't work, so someone's plugged like a clean channel guitar amp into the actual like sub part of the speaker cabinet of the actual bass amp, and we've done that so many times at our jam night on a Sunday. But generally, the amp that we're plugging into it is a solid state amplifier, and we've been lucky enough to get one with a lot of clean headroom, so it can be done in a pinch, absolutely. But I wouldn't recommend plugging your bass into the guitar amp and then using that speaker. You're asking for trouble. We got Rick Mason from England. Welcome, mate. He says, what picks do you use? What do you recommend? I really like these chicken picks. You know, I've stood by these for years. These are, you're going to laugh. I used to only play 1mm picks, those Jim Dunlop black ones with the sort of little bits of grip on the side. These are 2.6mm, but the side of them is really quite thin still, and they've changed the experience of electric guitar for me. The thing that sucks is anytime I play a different pick, I struggle. I think these are great. So the 2.6mm chicken picks, they're not cheap, but I've had these since I got them. It forces you not to lose them as well. And they're actually quite, how do I do this? You know, they're actually quite, they feel like a ceramic, but they're a hardened sort of plastic composite stuff. It's hard to explain, but yeah, very cool. So if this has been asked, it just got in, but where did I get the Pac-Man light? So in Australia, we've still got Kmart. I know a lot of places around the world got rid of that, and we've got these at Kmart. A non-sponsored plug. I actually went back and had a look to see if I could find another one. Not the same one, but this was by far the best one that they had. Perfect time for the West. Oh, us in the West. Cool. Oh, sorry, I misunderstood that for a second. Jamal says, in the blues, the frustrating thing about Epiphone is the lack of selection for lefties. They only make a few models and color options. I've said this for years as well, man. I totally agree. As a left-hander, they're shooting themselves in the Fender are the best, right? They keep releasing new lefties. They might not release every guitar in a lefty, but they've by far got the most. The problem with Epiphone is they release the same 3 guitars every year. Like, as a left-handed player, I'm sure they're sitting there going, oh, how come we don't sell any lefties anymore? Because every left-handed player has already had all 3 of those left-handed guitars. If they decided to do something different, they would sell some more. I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on a Casino at some time. At some point, you know, whether I have to wait until they re-release them as a new one, or whether I can find a used one somewhere as well. If I go away next year, I'd love to see if I can find one at a used guitar shop or something like that. Because, yeah, I really like the Epiphone Casinos. Hey, thanks for that, Catherine. I appreciate that. Excuse me. Merry Christmas to you too. Thanks for all the blues. No problems. It's been a good year. It's been fun. Lots has happened this year for me. So not just on YouTube, but you know, I had to move, and then I had the knee surgery thing, and it's been a crazy sort of from June to now. It's been a crazy period, but it's been good. I've been doing a lot of stuff too, like ticking a lot of boxes, you know, offline, I guess, in many ways. So it's been good. We got Benjamin from West Michigan. West Michigan. I think I've been there. It's amazing how much a pick changes the way you play. I used to always use 3mm stubbies, and then those 1mm nylon Dunlops. Yeah, that's the one I was talking about before. Changed to Jazz 3s. Oh, yeah, I know those. And John Petrucci Jazz this year, world of difference. That's it. I would never have thought of playing a 2.6mm pick, but, you know, it makes it easier. I found I was always bending the Jim Dunlop ones, you know, just from the tension on my thumb and finger, because I don't hold the pick the way you're kind of supposed to. I just hold it basically like this, and then I use this side. I never use the point, right? I hate that side on any pick, so I always use the sort of fat side of the pick. And these just made my hand a lot looser. I was like, yeah, this is cool. I've completely converted. Any thoughts on the Bondi Effects Del Mar? They just got re-released. You know what? I haven't really tried any of their pedals before, ever. About 4 years ago, maybe longer, I actually was in conversations with the guy, because he was from Sydney originally, or New South Wales, and then he moved overseas, maybe to Tennessee or something like that, and we were thinking about doing some videos, but it just never happened. But look, his stuff is good. The reputation's there, so while I haven't tried them, I know he makes good stuff from what I've seen. 3 a.m. in the United States. Far out. Thanks, Pyrus. Thanks for either staying awake or getting up. What action do I prefer on guitars? You know, one thing about me, I'm not very clinical when it comes to like what fretboard radius something has to be or what string height it has to be. It just has to play well. And that's it. I don't care. I used to care more about the neck shape than anything, but I don't anymore. If the guitar plays well, then I like it. And I can just tell if the strings are too low or if they're too high. It's that simple for me. If they do funny things when I'm bending, I know, all right, I have to either bring them up, or if they're choking out, or if they're not choking out and they're too high, I have to bring them down, right? So that didn't make sense. I don't want them to choke out, and if they are, I'll bring them up, is what I meant to say. So, yeah, I really don't look at it any other way anymore. If the string's too low, I'll just bring up the saddle. I'll bring it up a little bit. Just make sure it's high. Oh, I mean, I'll check the neck, but generally, if it's something simple like that, I'll just adjust it and I'll be good. I don't often break out the ruler unless I'm doing a setup from scratch, which isn't very often anymore. I just don't. Most of the guitars I've got play pretty well straight out of the box, which has been great. I did bring up the action slightly on my Flying V. I also brought the action down slightly on my Strat when I got it. And the PRS was perfect. I still haven't done anything to it. Just bought a Fender Custom Shop Closet Classic 61 Strat in Seafoam Green. Very nice. It's a beauty, but oddly I can't find a lot of info about the history of the Closet Classics. Any info you have is help. You know what? I don't know much about them either, mate. Sorry about that. Sounds like a nice guitar, though. And I'm sure, being that it's a Fender custom shop, my suggestion would be look on the forums. Go to all the guitar forums and just type that in and see what you can find. Because odds are there's plenty of other people who have got the same guitar and have talked about it or whatever. So that might lead you to somewhere where there's like a resource page on it. Mick says, great to see you live stream again, Shane. Thanks, mate. I appreciate that. What guitar is next on your wish list? I don't know. You know, like it's... There really isn't one. I'm trying to get rid of a few at the moment. No, look, I don't know. I'm pretty content with what I've got. This was the problem I always had when I went to Jerry's Lefty Guitars. There was always some that I thought I'd really love, but they weren't really quite me. There was one I really wanted, which was like a G&L Blues Boy. Had a humbucker neck pickup as a tally, and it had a single coil bridge pickup. It was in this really cool, I think it was called Ice Black or something. It was killer. I should have bought that, you know, but I don't really have anything like high on my list of things that I actually want to buy. The only guitar that I would consider buying is the 50s original series Strat. I really love that. That's one of my favorites. But I don't really need another Strat because I got one. It looks almost identical. Thomas says, bring the Royal Flush to Georgia. I'll actually probably have it with me, you know. I'm definitely going to bring a couple of effects with me. Thoughts on Eastman Les Pauls and ES guitars? Eastman Les Pauls are great. You know, I've tested a whole lot of lefties. I can't remember the model numbers off the top of my head, but if you just type in like Jerry's Lefty Guitars and find his Eastman listings, I should have videos on his actual website, so you can find those. Quality-wise, they're great. I think some of the 335s, at least the least expensive ones, are kind of like Epiphones. I think there was something sort of weird about the F-holes, like they either had, I think that, well, not weird, it's probably even nicer, but it had binding in the F-holes, which is something that I think a lot of Epiphones don't have. I don't even think my Tokai doesn't even have binding in the F-holes. So that was something that I sort of went, oh, that's different. I think from memory, they were all pretty good. So, yeah. My suggestion with any of this stuff is, or if you can, always play it first, and if you like it, it's good. It's that simple. We got Paladicio, is it? Good morning from the home of Dion Payton. Cool. Is the artist Les Paul going to take over from the Tokai? No. It's close, though. You know, I need to do a proper A-B between them, like a real test. It's almost indistinguishable in the hand. That's the scary part. I'm a little concerned to actually hear the difference tone-wise side by side, because I have a feeling the neck pickup on the artist may actually sound better. It's kind of subjective, but yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be a sad day. So we'll see. We'll see how we go. They surf during Christmas. Yeah, summer here is usually hot. Although so far, you've seen in nearly every video I've had except for like 2, I'm wearing a hoodie because it's been bloody cold, man. The weather here sucks. But generally over Christmas, it's stinking hot. You know, it really is. Last year on Instagram, I posted a photo at the beach. I was like, hey, this is what we're doing on Christmas Day. Does a fat Strat Neck feel like a PRS patent fat? No, they kind of... You know, I've only played one PRS with like a semi-fat sort of neck, and that was one of the higher-end ones. It sort of feels like a different guitar. It just doesn't remind me of a Strat. PRS is sort of their own thing. You sort of got to pick them up and gauge whether you like it or not. That said, the PRS SE that I've got has a wide, thin neck, which is something I would never normally go after, but it feels so good to play. So overall, the PRS guitars play really well, at least the ones I've tried. I need a Gretsch. Simple Simon says, I've seen your review of both the Bugera V5 and the Joyo JTA05. What do you prefer? You know what? The Bugera is hard to beat. It really is. Like, it's got a lot of great features. The only small criticism I have of it is the fact that it doesn't feel like it has quite enough treble. I mentioned this in the videos. It kind of feels like the tone control needs to go further. You can obviously run like an EQ pedal into it or something like that, but it's because it's got reverb, it's really quite good. The advantage, though, of the Joyo one being that it's got a different sort of power amp valve. It's actually got the 6V6 instead of the EL84. You get like a bigger sound. But as the amp, once you start pushing both, the Bugera kind of sounds a little bit better. The only downside to the Bugera is a lot of the time those valves that you get with it rattle. You'll hear this like what sounds like glass rattling in the back. You replace those and you're good to go. They're both good. Same thing. That it's all subjective stuff. The Joyo sounds more like a Fender, whereas the Bugera sounds nothing like a Fender. It's got a very different kind of vibe. But they're both great little practice amps. The best practice amp out of them both would be the Bugera because you can switch it down. You can't switch the Joyo down. Where do I see tube amps in, say, the next 10 to 20 years? That's from Quentin. Sorry if I miss any questions, too. Feel free to just to type it in again. It's hard to sometimes see all the comments come through. I think they'll still be where they are. I just think Fender will probably start releasing way more of these Tone Master series amps in all of their amps. And you might find other companies will start copying that exact same idea. You'll see Marshall do it. You'll see Vox do it. I know Blackstar, I think, are already doing that from what I understand. But, yeah, there's always going to be the digital alternatives, and there'll always be people who don't want a part of it. So both will still be around. If Valve and tube amps are still available today, given all the amount of technology at our fingertips and all that kind of stuff, they'll be around in 20 years. No problems there at all. Will I be in Atlanta? I'm not too sure yet. I can't really give away what this trip's going to be because it's like, without boasting, I'm like really excited about it and it's a great idea. And if it goes to plan, like I'm not exactly sure which areas I'll be in just 100% yet, so I don't know, but there'll be lots of driving. I'll tell you that. Mick says he really liked the 50 series Strat at Sky Music. It is awesome, man. I A-B'd it with the professional and ended up going for the pro solely for the neck carve. Okay, cool. Not sure if I made the right call. Yeah, look, I would take a professional over the Ultra Series. After seeing the Ultra Series in person, having Rick play them, he likes nice guitars, and the Ultra Series ones didn't excite him, but the professional series ones are probably the way to go if you don't want to get like one of those sort of reissue kind of guitars. They're probably more functional than the actual 50s one. I think the thing that put me off, there were two things about the 50s one that sort of I'm not a big fan of. There isn't any noise cancelling positions on the pickup selection switch. So every one of those buzz, which means it'll drive me bananas. All right, I know what I'm like. It would just drive me crazy. Not having an in-between that's noise cancelling would suck. And the small frets, that's a bit of a deal breaker. That's kind of what has put me off. Hey, Pork Chop, how are you? He says, have you ever mismatched amps to cabs? Last night I forgot to change the impedance on my amp from 16 ohm to 8 ohm to match my 8 ohm cab, and I'm a little worried I may have worn out my amp a bit. Nah, you should be fine, man. Look, as long as you don't go doing that all the time, it shouldn't matter too much. I've done that before as well, so don't worry about it. The worst thing you can do is, if you got it cranked for a long period of time and it's up really, really loud, you might do some damage. If it's just at home or whatever, you shouldn't have too much of an issue with it. Yeah, I've done that. I've done that before, so don't worry about it. If it still works, it'll be fine. But yeah, just try not to do it all the time. What was I going to say? I was going to add something else to that. I can't remember. BV Ninja, welcome. How you doing? Someone needs to make you an In the Blues neon LED sign. I'd love to get one, and I've been scouring as many websites as I can. I found an awesome guitar, LED. It's only available overseas and he won't ship to Australia. He says every time he does, it breaks. But yeah, I don't want to risk that. They're so fragile, man. Just having one fall off an amplifier is enough just to, shard it into 50 bits. It really sucks. I'm going to mispronounce your name. It's Undredge? Undredge? Oh, God, jeez. Sorry. Is that how you pronounce it? I was watching one of your videos yesterday, actually, and you said your name, and I can't pronounce it. It says, I'm loving... Oh, no, sorry. This is from Guitar Everyone. That's much easier. I'm reading the wrong comment. He says, I'm really loving my Tone Master Twin. Me too. I got a video coming up about what I play when I play live and what gear I'm using mostly. And, yeah, not to spoil it too much, but the Twin is one of those amps that just makes it too easy. Affordable Tone Master Blues Junior 4 would get my money. That's the funny thing. A lot of people seem to want Princetons and Blues Juniors. I've seen that come up quite a bit. Interestingly, I would have thought more people would be looking for larger amps. Like when I emailed Fender, I said, you got to make like a super reverb and a bassman and a Fender Tone Master Twin with a custom 15-inch speaker. These are the kind of amps that I thought people would go for because just based on the size. But it seems that even everybody still wants the smaller amps like the Princeton Tone Master, all that kind of stuff. So we'll see what they do with it. I'm really keen to see, in the next sort of wave of these amps, what happens. And if you do own one of these too, I've looked everywhere on mine for this USB port. They said you could upgrade the firmware somehow by plugging a USB cable in. I can't find the port anywhere. If anyone knows where that is, let me know. I think that might have been a pre-production thing, but yeah, I really dig it. I saw a question here before, Tone Master or Katana? I can't remember who wrote it, sorry. Yeah, Tone Master for me all day. Different prices though. I mean, look, if I was to... I'm lucky. I am. I'm really lucky. They let me keep this. Would I have bought it otherwise? I don't know. I think most people could probably justify a Katana a lot easier based on that price. But given that how light and loud this is, it's great. I probably would have bought one had I loved it enough. If it just didn't turn up to the house. But I tell you what, I've been using that more than any of my other amps because it's the lightest amp in the collection, and it's probably getting it to the car is funny. I got my pedal board in one hand and I got my amp in the other, and it's like it doesn't feel like there's much difference between them in terms of weight. Guitar Ray says, need a new set of headphones. What are the ones you're using and thoughts? I think these are AKG K52s. These are okay. I don't really like them that much. They're okay for just listening to audio from a computer or from your phone. But I've got a better set of Audio Technica ones, which are much, much better. I think they're called the ATX20s, ATH20, something like that. Check those out. They're much, much better than these. They're about a few bucks more. These are budget headphones. They look cool and they're comfy, but they're not great for voice. Although I'm using them for voice, I don't know where my other ones are. But yeah, they're okay. They're okay. They're good for gaming and they're good for music listening, but they're not great. The other ones are much better. Any thoughts about bringing your subscribers onto your show? Would love to get to know some. Tony, thanks for that. I've done that for years, mate. I was the first to have subscriber hangouts, right? But going back 3-4 years or more. I used to do that every probably month for a long time. I had subscriber hangouts, and they were called community hangouts. So I used to do that a lot. But the funny thing about it is Google actually killed the whole hangout thing. So you got to use these third-party plugins, and it's a mess. So it's the new thing is seeing two people's low-definition pictures up on screen like this with their name under each of them. The experience sucks. So I hope YouTube re-release some sort of Hangouts thing, because without the Google Hangouts, to set that up would be a nightmare. The last few I did weren't great either, to be honest. Like, there was a lot of people not really sort of saying or contributing much. People just sitting there, and it was a little bit strange. And then you had the regulars, which were great, but it made it hard for new people to sort of come into the conversation too, I guess, not knowing everybody as well. So I've done probably 50 of those. So as of right now, until the tech is easy where I can just send somebody a link and they can load it up and it works, it probably won't happen for a little while now. But yeah. BSKI says, love the review of the Squier 50s Classic Vibe Strat. Thanks, man. They're cool guitars. Yeah, we've got Will. Welcome. Todd, how you doing, man? The Toemaster twin USB input is underneath the chassis. It's really hard to see in there. Fender only has it there for future upgrades if we ever need them. Yeah, I just couldn't find it. I flipped it upside down and I still couldn't find it. So, yeah, I'm going to have to take another look. But, I mean, there's nothing that needs upgrading. It works fantastically. Wouldn't it be funny if they could just change the firmware so it could sound like a completely different amp? Maybe they'll do that down the track. What do you think of the guitar players nowadays can make a living out of Instagram? I think guitar players can make a living a number of different ways, but I think a lot of the people that are making a living off Instagram sell lessons, or they're getting paid to promote stuff. But even that's going away now because they got rid of that the like totals are not as seen anymore as they used to be. So it's getting harder for like paid per like, if that makes sense. But I don't do any of this, but I've looked into it. So yeah, I think most of the people that have X amount of subscribers, you can swipe up, go to their website and learn how to play guitar. For those guys that have got that, we're probably making a killing doing that. But yeah, YouTube's probably still the easiest way to not have a product and still make a few bucks. So yeah, I don't sell lessons or anything, but yeah. Any problem with the older of the Squier Classic Vibe? So any problems with the older versions of the Squier Classic Vibe 50s versions? I picked up a 2008 and I feel like the newer ones had better upgrades. I don't think that's the case at all, man. I would be really shocked if they got better. I'm not saying they got worse, but I doubt it. Yeah. From what I've heard, I think a lot of people prefer the electronics on the older ones. I think something happened with the wiring or the pots that were lower quality. I think the pickups are still the same, but yeah, if you take the scratch plate off the new ones, I think they do look different underneath from what I've read or what I've seen. I can't remember if I heard about that or not, but yeah, look, they're all fine. They're all going to perform well. Fender are in the habit of, or any guitar company are in the habit of re-releasing something that looks identical, but sort of making it less expensive for them. That's just the way that it works. So yeah, I think you'll be fine. If you like the guitar, mate, just play it and enjoy it. How's my knee doing? It's doing well, thanks. Yeah, I'm walking a bit. It's still a bit sore, but it's way, way better. It's so much better than it used to be. Even a couple of weeks ago, I can get around. It's so much better now. It's great. Thanks. Craig says, morning, late to the party. 2000s Peavey Bandit 112. Red stripe with a non-working reverb on Facebook for $90. Jump on it or pass. You can usually pretty easily replace the reverb tanks in those, but $90 is pretty good without the... Well, yeah, it's hard to say, man. It depends what the rest of the amp is like. It's usually when those reverb tanks go bad, it's the terminals that connect to the... There's these two RCA cables. It's like a red and a white one, like used to hook up on a DVD player. Those two things go in, or VHS. Those two things connect to these little terminals that usually get a little corroded over time. It could be as simple as getting some of this sort of stuff and then just spraying the connectors, and then it might work. I mean, if it's missing the tank completely, you might be in a bit of trouble, but it's not something that you can order that part too, like the Accutronic spring reverbs. You can get them anywhere. So as long as the terminals are still there, you should be able to get it to work. That would be my suggestion. Any thoughts on the Gibson SGs with Mini-Humbuckers compared with the standards? I like Mini-Humbuckers. I think they sound really great. They're kind of like a Telecaster on steroids, and they'll have a little bit less output, but they'll be brighter than your conventional humbucker. If you give them a go and you like them, there you go. I think they'd suit anything from blues to rock and roll, man. Mini-Humbuckers are great. They're really cool. Hey, Todd, thanks, man. Far out. I remember you did a review of the 60s original American Stratocaster. Can you recall what your thoughts were? It's a great guitar as well. I think the advantage of the 60s one over the 50s one was it had noise-cancelling positions in 2 and 4. So you had that, get out of jail free card if you do have a lot of buzz. So that was really cool. One of the other things about it that it was different was the neck wasn't quite as fat, but it had slightly better or bigger frets. So if you don't like a fat neck guitar, that 60s original American Strat is more comfortable for people who don't want that 50s style neck. But yeah, it was great. I mean, it could have gone either way for me with both of those, but there was something about that 50s one I really liked, but it would have required new frets soon enough, and it would have required me to think, do I want to modify this to get it to be buzz-free in a couple of the positions? But the 60s one had that already, so that's what was really great about it. Hey, thanks for the super chat, man. Far out, I appreciate it. If you have any other specific questions about it, mate, just add in the blues me and I'll check it out. But yeah, I think I said this when I reviewed both of those. I'm pretty sure, or on a live stream following it, that I would take those over a lot of custom shop Fenders. I think they're just absolutely beautiful. So if you got either of those guitars, you're going to be pretty happy. Did I see the Kramer screwed up the color of the Ruby Red Beretta guitar? It's pink. Oh, man. I didn't see that. I've been so busy, sort of like the last 3 weeks for getting all the videos ready for December, that no, I haven't seen that. I don't know much about Kramer as a brand, but if they have a ruby red guitar that's pink, that's pretty hilarious. Someone's getting fired. Do I know much about MHB from Adelaide? No, I don't think so. If that stands for something, and I don't know what the abbreviation is, just let me know. But no, I'm not too sure. Sorry. I'm looking for an ES335 type guitar, but the prices on the Gibsons are far too much. Any recommendations? Epiphone Dots. Any of those Epis are really great. We were talking about the Eastman guitars earlier as well. They make really good 335 style guitars. Depending on where you live, and if you've got access to Japanese guitars like Tokai, you can get ones made in China, also made in Japan. They'll be really great alternatives as well. Sorry, excuse me. Hey, we got, is it Ondio Online? Sorry, it's Ondi Online, maybe. Is that it? I'm not too sure. Greetings from Greensboro. How are you, man? We got Porkchop says, Shane, have you ever ventured to Deluxe Guitars down in South Melbourne? I'm guessing for 99% of their inventory. Yeah, I have. Look, I haven't been to their new shop. I used to borrow a lot of the stuff, all the old pedals from back in the day from there, like maybe 7-8 years ago on the channel. So, yeah, I used to borrow a lot of stuff. It's where I bought my 2-Rock amp from. It's where Rick bought most of his amps from. It's where I got my Klon from as well. So, like the KTR, I never bought one of those old expensive ones. But, yeah, they're good dudes down there, absolutely. I should go check out their new shop. It's something I haven't done yet. Hey, Landon, welcome, man. Harley Benton SC550. I haven't tried an Epiphone, Harley Benton SC550. I know that a lot of the, hang on, the 550's Les Paul, is it? Single cut 550. Hang on, let me just look that up. I get confused with the model numbers. SC550. So this is the one. Yeah, okay. So we've got a video on this on the channel, but Rick played the guitar, so that's why I haven't actually. I knew I hadn't played it, but oh man, it sounded awesome. So this is the thing. You can save a few extra bucks and still get a really great guitar from the Harley Benton stuff, but you can't play it in person. You know, you really have to hope that you're going to get a good one. And we've been pretty lucky, especially with those new single cut ones with the P90 and the double cut ones. So both of those were flawless, man. They were so good. But we played one of those in Germany a couple of years ago, and that SC550, just listening to it and filming it, Rick made it sound great. So if you can play, you can make any guitar sound good. I think you'll be pretty happy with that as well. But the advantage of the Epiphone is you can actually just go play it. And sometimes that's what it comes down to for a lot of people, and myself included. Raphael says, hey, I got an American Sound, a Moon, and it's quite noisily and crackling. Any tips on how to fix that, or just a defective unit? Odds are it's probably a scratchy pot. So my suggestion is, I held this up a minute ago for something else, but this stuff fixes everything to do with the guitars, man. This stuff's the best. Get some electrical cleaner, basically. It's contact spray stuff. So take off the pots, spray it in the plastic bits, spray it in the actual pot. Just turn them left and right, maybe 15, 20 times or something each, and see if that fixes it. Usually crackly pots or crackle through a pedal is 99% just a dodgy or a pot that needs to be turned a few times. You can even try it without using the contact spray. Just sit there and turn them left to right all the way, back and forth, and just see if that fixes it. That'd be my suggestion. I think those also have a battery compartment. So my suggestion is try it on battery and then try it on a power supply. Could be a power supply causing problems. Let me just go back down here. Hops and Barley says, just wanted to say I love your channel. I think you're one of the most trustworthy reviewers out there. Thanks. Appreciate that, man. I always say this to people now, like the channel's been around since 2006. If I was full of crap, I would have heard about it by now. And I hardly ever see anything on my comments saying, oh, I bought this, it's a piece of junk. So, look, it's happened a couple of times, but a couple of times since 2006, that's not too bad. I got nothing to gain by basically telling you everything's great. I got a video coming up Friday about some of the worst stuff I've tried. So, yeah, there you go. Thanks. Todd says, thanks, I'm flipping a few guitars to the Colonel. Cool. I think I'm going to do a live stream on his channel next year. I asked, he wanted me to do it in December, and I said, not a chance. If we can move it to Jan, I'll do it then for sure. So he's a good guy. Joe says, PRS Custom 24, Harley Benton CST 24. If price is a concern, you can make your decision that way. In terms of tone, they're both very similar to each other. I've actually done a video on both against each other. They sound so similar to each other, but I still prefer how the tremolo feels on the PRS SE, and I still prefer like the color of it, and it just feels like the fretboard isn't quite as flat, which I personally like on the PRS SE. So I'm going to give the edge to that, but it's so close. It really is. Like two jams ago, I had the CST 24 out, and I played that. People are like, oh, that's nice. What's that? I'm like, it's a Harley Benton. It's a couple $100. They're like, what? So, yeah, I forgot I was playing the Harley Benton. It felt pretty similar to my PRS, but it's just a little bit different. It's got a hotter output as well. So the pickups slightly have a bit more output volume, and if you like that, you might sort of play with some heavy tones occasionally. That would be a really great choice. But they can both handle it pretty well, to be honest. So probably suggest watch my video on it. I did. If you type in Harley Benton PRS SE versus what did I say? The CST 24T versus the PRS SE, it'll come up. Have I ever tried kink pedals? I have. Yeah. I did review of the Manson fuzz pedal, which was like had Charlie Manson's picture on it. It was like a little fuzz. You click it on the eyes, lit up red. I actually ran into that guy at the Melbourne Guitar Show, and we were emailing each other. He was going to send out one of his Vemator pedals, which was like a clone. But that never happened either. So this is the joys of emailing with people. Have I ever played a Godin SG Classic? I have not. I really like the look of those guitars. There's a couple that I really like visually that I haven't been able to play because they're always right-handed. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's just one that I played a Godin left-handed acoustic guitar. That was about as far as I ever got. Fender Bass Breaker 7 combo. Just send it back to Toman. Was too bass heavy in a band situation. I'm surprised you can gig with a Bass Breaker 7. I wouldn't have thought that would be loud enough. Have I ever tried the Fender Noiseless pickups, and what's your opinion? I've had all of them. Except for some of the new ones. So I've had the vintage ones, the Fender Vintage Noiseless, which were, I think, the first ones that came out back in, like, what year was it? 2001? 2002? But I got them a little bit later. I had the Hot Noiseless pickups, which were the Jeff Beck ones, and they were my favorites out of all of them. I also had the Sumerian Cobalt Nickel ones, or whatever they were called, the SC Noiseless. Sumerian Cobalt Noiseless, yeah. They came stock in my Fender 50th anniversary Strat that I got back in like 2002. Around then? Yeah, it could have been around then. I'm not exactly sure, but was it later? I can't remember. But the best ones were the Hot Noiseless. They sounded probably closest to the Strat pickup, but they sounded great. You know, this is the funny thing. When people do comparisons between Strat pickups, they're always isolated. You think, oh, yeah, geez, listen to the top end on that Strat single coil versus the Noiseless. And then you get into the band mix, and it makes zero difference. So, yeah, if I was to get... Look, I think they've gotten better over time, too. Like, as the pickups have been released to whatever version they're at now, I wouldn't be surprised if the newest ones are probably better than some of the older ones. But if I had to rebuy one of those 3 sets, I would definitely get the Jeff Beck ones, the Hot Noiseless again, no questions about it. But they're probably not better than something like Zex coils, which sound more stratty. So, yeah, they're all not quite 100% there. But visually, I think those Hot Noiseless ones, you know, they got that Fender traditional look, so they're pretty cool. I've got this old video. If you type in Fender Noiseless pickup comparison or something, yeah, if you want to laugh, go watch that video. It's one of my first ones, I think. Have I ever played orange amps? I've played a few at the shop. I've never... Oh, actually... Excuse me. I've had one at the house. It was a little practice amp. You know, one of the most shocking things Rick and I came across was, I think, the 30 combo. Like, we were trying the distortion channel. We're like, oh, yeah, it's the heavy sort of sound that neither of us play. And then we got it onto the clean channel and cranked it up. And, man, it sounded so good. Like, just driving the clean channel, like, up to, you know, like, loud. And it was beautiful. It was one of the best sounding amps we've ever played. We were shocked how great it sounded. But there it was in all of its orange glory, and it definitely wasn't something that was quite our visual, but not that that's important, but it was just hilarious that we both had we compared it to a Marshall, actually, and we were so blown away by how the orange sounded just cranked on the clean channel. It was just beautiful, and the reverb was awesome as well. So, yeah, I get asked a lot about orange amps, and I don't think I'm the kind of player that can really showcase the heavy side of those very well, or if at all. I know Rick can play a million different riffs, so maybe one day we'll bring a few over and make some noise. But yeah, I think they're good. They're just aimed at a very different guitarist to me. All right, let me scroll down. Fishy Paul says, I used electrical cleaner on my wires pot. Works great for a bit, then always gets dirty again. I need to buy a new pot. Okay, well, yeah, you know, being that the other guy's got a new pedal, it could just be inactivity. You know, it's probably may have been sitting there in the box for 2 years or something. So, yeah, give it a spray. It should fix it. Have I ever tried a scalloped fretboard? They feel so much bluesier than the regular fretboards due to how easily they bend. I haven't, no. I've picked up a guitar with it. I actually picked up Tone King's Flying V while we were away. And it didn't have strings on it at that point, but I looked, I was just like, man, this is crazy. Like, I would just not think of ever getting a guitar with scalloped frets, but I don't know, it's kind of cool. But no, I haven't played a lefty before. Jason says, greetings from Florida. Love your work. Thanks, Jason. Thanks for the support, mate. I appreciate that. Mr. Kareem, welcome, man. Did I say hi before? If I didn't, welcome. Any recent tasty pedals you've acquired? I've got a handful of second-hand Vic Audio 73 Rams head. I don't know what that is. Maybe I missed something here. In terms of cool pedals, I've got one on the floor. This is the TOD9. I love Maxon stuff. It's simple and it works, and it will last until the end of time. I really love this stuff. This is it's got one of those like mini tube things in the front there. It's basically like a normal tube screamer. If you leave the tube drive down, which is the one near my thumb, and if you bring this up, it turns it into a beast. I haven't done a video of this. I've had it for months. I need to get onto that. And I've already done a video of this, which was years ago, but I got another one of these a while back because I kind of missed it. It's the Stardust pedal from Crazy Tube Circuits. This is the best Strat pedal, I reckon, out there. It's very close to just giving you that, you know, deluxe reverb crank tone, but with more tops, which is what a deluxe reverb needs when it's cranked. It is just super cool on a Strat. So I've been using this a bit again lately with going through my Strat phase again. So yeah, but not a whole lot of you've probably seen like a whole lot of the pedal demos have slowed down and people aren't watching them either. So I've just stopped doing them as often. It's just a waste of time. I still love testing pedals, but you know, not a lot of people are that interested in it, and I get it. There's just too many. There's just too much of it online, and I think most people have realized that it all comes down to how you play, and if you've got a sound in your head. I could almost take any of my overdrive pedals into any of my amplifiers and have such a very similar sound through them all, and that's because I know what I'm looking for. And the difference between one and the other isn't always that apparent. You know, like you can just turn the treble down, the gain up, and it sounds like these two. You know, so sometimes they're quite a bit different. But I've really been looking for really anything that's for myself to buy. I just don't. It's not going to make any difference to my sound. I sort of feel like that with amps now too. Like whether or not I go out and buy another amp, it may make it sound slightly different, but it's not really going to make me sound any better. I'm still going to sound the same, and I feel like that with any of my amps. I plug in, I get my sound either with my pedal board on the clean channel, or I make the Marshall sound like my Fender with the pedal board. So yeah, it's a weird thing. So I do have two coming, which interested me enough to want to get them in. One's from a company called Jacques, and the other one's from a new company as well, which I can't recall the name, but they'll be up next month probably. Remove the S1 switching from the Baja Tele or keep it stock? I don't know, man. I reckon just keep it in there. Like, unless it's giving you any grief, I wouldn't. That's its point of difference. You know, if you remove it, it's going to be like every other Tele, which might be fine too. If you find you're not really using it, get rid of it. I did that with my S1 switch in my Strat years ago. I just took it out. Hey, Amanda, welcome. So I got a bit of a blocked nose. I keep breathing heavy into the mic. Left-handed guitarists are the worst. All right, let's go through, have a look. I was thinking of selling some guitars. What are you thinking of selling? I gotta work that out, man. I got a cupboard full of stuff, and I got a second room full of other guitars I'm not using. So, yeah, probably a lot more of the inexpensive stuff. I'll probably flip a couple of the Harley Bentons, a couple of the artist guitars. I've still got a few of those. And probably the Dan Electros. You know, on my review, I was pretty critical of how they felt to play for me. Like, that had its limitations. And, yeah, I just don't see myself using them. I've used them for videos here. This was the thing. Like, a couple of the guitars I wanted to keep just for the YouTube channel, because I feel like not everyone's got a Fender Strat or a Gibson Flying V or whatever, and they might want to hear how something less expensive sounds with a Harley Benton or an artist guitar. But there's a couple of those I'm keeping, but there's definitely a few that I won't be using. I can just tell already, like, yeah, I know what I'm into, and I'm not a huge fan of those Dan Electros. I've tried to... they're okay for rhythm stuff, but I just can't get into it. You know, it was a real struggle. When a video is a real struggle for me to film, then I know if something's like, and I'm not bonding with it. If much like that artist guitar, the Les Paul that just went up, man, that just played so well in that video. I did that, I think, first take on the intro track, and the actual video probably took about 20 minutes, which is a great sign. So yeah, I don't know yet. I'm gonna have to go through my list and get rid of some stuff. I'm kind of glad, actually, I was sent a couple of right-handed guitars because, you know, I can't use them and Rick can deal with those. What do I think of the Hughes and Kettner Grandmeister 40? I haven't played that one. I played, I think, one of their 20-watt amps, and it was great, but it's been discontinued, which, yeah, so I don't know about that one. I think I may have seen it while I was away in Germany a couple of years ago, or last year, whenever that was, but I don't think, I don't know if we actually played it or not. But the amps are pretty good. Like, they're a solid selection of tones. I always had the misconception that they're all just metal player amps. I don't know. Maybe it was the font on the actual branding and the way that they were marketed. But yeah, we could get some really cool tones out of that little 20-watt combo. So, yeah, the visual aside, they're pretty decent amplifiers. I don't own one though. I haven't played one since. So yeah, maybe don't trust my word on that. Maybe go play it and see what you think. I always tell people, if you can't go play something, find someone who plays like you that does video reviews and just binge watch those. I always find like that's the easiest way for me to choose a speaker. If I'm looking online on YouTube, I'm like, all right, I definitely want this in that amp. I see if I can find that exact combination. Then I also see if I can find someone who has a similar style or might throw a few blues things in there or whatever, just to see whether or not I can approximate, you know, that sound in my own head. And if that's what I like, then I pull the trigger on it. Have I considered trying a speaker swap in your Fender Tonemaster amps? It's from John. No. I like how light it is. I do know of a guy in Melbourne who's got one, and he changed the speakers to like maybe the full-blown Jensen, like the what was that, Alnico ones? And it obviously made the amp heavier, but yeah, I'm not really that interested right now in changing it. I love the fact it's as light and as laughably light as it is. It's just, it weighs nothing at all. So I can get a really great tone out of it, and it's loud. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Usually anytime I change a speaker, there's something about it, the one that's in there, that I don't like. I can't complain with that Tonemaster. I think it's great. The only one thing, just talking about those using Katana amps. You know, they make a few with like Perspex front panels that look really great. You know, how you can see into them and they light up with LEDs and all this kind of crap. And then once they get dusty, it's like computer cases. There's a phase with them where they were all transparent. And it was basically looked like a fish tank full of dust. Right? So, yeah, I don't know about that kind of visual of some of those amps with the clear plastic Perspex at the front. I would kind of avoid that. Maybe it's good to know if it's dusty or not, but that's one thing about them that I'm not 100% sure of. I don't know about the heating issues that you've written about, though. Greetings from Emerald Isle. Love the channel. I don't know where that is. Where's that? That sounds like a nice place. Have I ever tried a right-handed guitar strung for left-handed? Only an acoustic. It's not something that I enjoy. Like, I thought about it a few times, and when I was learning, all the shop guys are like, "Oh, just learn right-handed. Just buy a right-handed guitar and flip it." But the thing is, as a lefty, for perpetually knocking the tone and volume controls with your forearm, you've got to adjust the way you play. I've been playing normally in quotations for too long. I can't adjust. It would really throw a lot of the way that I play out if I had to adjust the position of my arm. And it's not something that interests me at all. I can appreciate like Eric Gale's shredding upside down on a guitar and all that kind of thing, but yeah, it's not really something that I've wanted to go after for any reason. I'm not, no. I'd rather just wait and see if I can find a lefty. Love the channel, but you got to help me stop spending money. I tell you the trick for that. Practice. Nah, look, it happens to me too. I'm a huge camera nerd, and I got a tech channel now and all that kind of stuff as well. And, I watch a lot of the videos that inspire me to, like, I'll show you. I watched a video about this thing that's under my camera. It's like an they call it a battery grip, right? You can put an extra battery in there. It screws onto the bottom of the camera. I watched a YouTube video about a guy that has this exact camera with this exact thing underneath. And, I was like, oh, man, that's awesome. I'll go get it. So it happens to me, too. It also happened with this lens. This is my main lens that I use on the channel, this 15mm Leica Lumix lens. And, it happens to me. Like, my biggest gas right now is camera equipment. I love it. I guess I'm in the fortunate position of not I've always got something, usually always coming in. And just when it dries up, I get my hands on something, or I can go down and test something from Sky Music. So I'm pretty lucky in the sense that that part of my brain is, just with the amount of music gear that goes up on the channel, it's different. It's different now than it was. For me, though, I can watch lens videos for all day and get gas. It's shocking. It's really bad. I actually I would attribute my camera purchases to YouTube. When I'm looking to upgrade from my old cameras to what I'm using now, I spent weeks and weeks and weeks looking into, what is this camera? What does this guy think of that camera? What's the best camera for this? Like I did exactly the same things everyone does probably when they search for music gear, and they might stumble on one of my videos or whoever's video. So I totally get it. I can totally relate. ZD3501 says, I have a flip Strat and I think it's a pain in the ass, but others like Jamal like theirs, so it's up to the individual. I think if you start playing with it that way, it's fine. I think if you start playing as a natural lefty with a left-handed guitar and you're used to your arm position, swapping over and playing an upside-down right-handed guitar is a problem. But if you start that way like Doyle Bramall and, whoever else, then it's fine. You'd be used to not having your arm in a certain position. But every time, like I've grabbed a right-handed guitar and just played it with the strings upside down at jam nights just for fun. And I'm perpetually always just rolling the tone and volume controls down. It's hard not to. It really is. So Epiphone Les Paul saddles are sharp, rubbing my hand raw, and he fixes. You probably get something like a 1200 grade or maybe even 800 sandpaper and just give him a bit of a sand. You wouldn't want to go too over the top with it, but that, just get a really fine sandpaper, maybe an 800 and then 1000. Do the 800 first, go over it with the 1000. It should hopefully fix that up. What type of guitar was it on? Sorry. Let me just double check your comment or question. On a Les Paul. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't really have my hand that far back on a Les Paul, I don't think. So, yeah, I would just probably get some really fine sandpaper. You could get it for like $1 a sheet. A big sheet of it. Just try it. Yeah, try 800 and 1000. That should hopefully fix it. One of the best upgrades you can actually do for Epis and some of the Chinese-made Tokai guitars is to get a Tone Pros bridge. They're so much better. Don't get the ones with the wheels, but just get... I did a video on one ages ago changing it on a Les Paul, and it was an awesome, awesome upgrade. Gas for cameras, that would be Cass. Yeah, they still call it gas in that niche as well. It's gear acquisition syndrome. Or, yeah, I guess guitar acquisition syndrome also works. Fishy Paul says, photographer here. That's a nice camera. Thanks, man. Yeah, I use my GH5 is kind of my baby for my main camera. Yeah, I love this thing. When I travel later next year, this will be with me. It'll be fun. I can't wait to share these new videos with everybody. If they all go to plan. We'll see. Any thoughts or plans to do a video on the Rev D20? That's one of those pedals, right? Let me just double check. I'm thinking of the Rev 9 from Terminator. Not that I've seen it, but I've saw the trailer. Is it? Oh, it's an amp, is it? Let me just double check. Okay. No, I doubt it. A lot of, yeah, I don't know anyone that has this stuff in Australia. I don't think I've seen it anywhere. I'm sure there'll be people that sell it, but yeah, that's not an amp I've even heard. It's just completely off my radar, mate. I apologize. Have I tried any of the Tone King pedals by Jesse Davey? I haven't. No. Good question. Turbo says, any experience with the Pitbull guitar kits in general? No, but I've seen them and I've been really tempted to try one at some point. So maybe down the track I'll get one of those kits and we'll see how we go. My only experience is just seeing them, and that's it. What are my thoughts on Clarke versus Maton? It basically just comes down to which visual you like the best. I think Clarke have taken their designs like visually in a different direction, and that won't appeal to everybody, nor will the boring sort of Maton guitar stylings, but the boring stylings will suit a lot of people too. So that's not to belittle either look, but it's more of a visual thing. Those pickups that they use are both on par with each other. The AP5s and the Matons are like phenomenal. Same with the pickup system in the Clarke. I can't recall what that's called, but plugged into a PA, they both sound fantastic. I think the advantage goes to Clarke acoustically. Like if you're not plugged in, Matons usually seem a little too boxy, and I've owned one. And my biggest complaint with it was it never sounded nice acoustically. It was always like, it always felt smaller than it was. Clarkes have a bit more of a bigger sound. But some of those, like the Fat Lady guitars, are a bit too big. So you're strumming kind of weird too. So there's these weird sort of trade-offs. My biggest complaint with acoustics in general is, why do they always put tiny frets on them? They're like a millimeter off the actual board. I don't understand why they do that. And Maton are so guilty of that. It's my biggest complaint with them. It's like, what's with these frets? They're just horrible frets. But anyway, if you're a live player, either will do the job. I think Matons are maybe have the edge plugged in just slightly, but acoustically they're not quite as nice sounding. I would say the best acoustic I've heard from Maton unplugged is about as good as a GS Mini, and I love those guitars. I think GS Minis sound way bigger than they actually are. that would probably be what I would buy if I ever got another acoustic. But yeah, I'm not that into either anymore, you know. And I think after owning one and trying to find another one that had more projection acoustically, I just gave up in the end. It's just one of those things. All right, how long have we been streaming for here, guys? An hour and 11 minutes. Far out. All right, I'll go for another 20 minutes or so. Fat Philosopher from Japan, welcome. Cool. I'm looking at buying a new gigging amp, tossing up between buying a Fender Champ 100 or perhaps a Blues Deluxe. What do you recommend? The Blues Deluxe, 100%. Look, the Champion 100s are loud enough to gig with, right? And you can get a lot of different sounds out of them, but, you know, a Blues Deluxe has stood the test of time at loud volumes for me for years. I haven't had that same experience with a 100. I haven't owned one, right? I've only tested them here at home, and I think they're great and they're loud as nobody's business. But yeah, Blues Deluxe is hard to beat. If you're a pedal player, just get that. You'll be happy with it. Also, I wouldn't discount a Hot Rod Deluxe either. They're about the same price, so try them both. I think immediately the Hot Rod will probably sound better than the Blues Deluxe. The Blues Deluxe is a better... I said this earlier too. I feel like it's got a bit more projection in a live mix. Something to do with the voicing of the mids or something. But they're both such great amps. So if you're a pedal guy, I would opt for the tube amp all day. But if you're not, then the other one will definitely do the trick too. All you really have to do is hear them side by side. Even though one's got two speakers and one's got one, a 40-watt valve amp versus a 100-watt solid-state amp, you're gonna see how loud 40 watts of a valve amp is. So the only thing is the stock speaker, like I've said a million times, I much prefer swapping that out to something else. And I use a Swamp Thing in mine from Eminence. I love that. I've tried it with Texas Heat as well, which is also a really great choice. I do want to get a proper lefty Strat one day. Yeah, look, man, if you're used to playing a right-handed Strat upside down, there's nothing to stop you from, staying on that route, because it opens up a world of opportunities. I'm kind of envious of that in a way if you can do that. I just can't get used to it. Anytime I've played a guitar upside down, I'm perpetually knocking the volume and tone control. So, yeah, it does open up way more opportunities for you to get, any guitar out there, which is pretty cool. Hey, CGS, welcome, mate. I was trying to think of a funny three-word name for that, CGS, because we're no longer China Guitar Skeptic. We're Complicated Guitar Stud. How about that one? Guitar, he says, great to see you, mate. Enjoyed your GH battery grip today. Thanks. Yeah, I'm getting into the tech channel stuff. It's been good fun. I'm not doing it as much as I would like, and it's not like in the Blues channel where people are just throwing stuff at you like, hey, review this. That's not kind of what I'm doing with that. I'm just doing more stuff from my own experience, and yeah, it's good fun. I got to ask you too, man, what's with your live streams? I've watched one that was on yesterday, I think, and it's like, it almost looks like you're digitized on a green screen or something. I don't know if you are on a green screen or not, but I was meaning to ask you whether or not you were on, like, if you had some sort of like digital thing going on with that. The picture was just bizarre. Like, it looked cool. It looked like it was like retro kind of pixelated in a really interesting way. I don't know if it was an effect or what, but I had to ask. A 2-point tremolo is better than 6-point trems for staying in tune. 2-point tremolo is better than 6. I don't know. To be honest, they're both different, like, I think most of mine are 2. Like, when I'm thinking about the Dan Electros are all 2. The PRS is 2. What's the Strat? The Strat would be 6, right? Is it? Or is that 2? You know what? I'm not too sure. I really don't know. I think it just still comes down to the quality of how the nuts cut on the guitar as well, making sure that there's no problems with that. Because a lot of people will use the whammy bar and it will go sharp, right? And you'd be thinking, hey, well, shouldn't it go flat? Why is it going sharp? There's something to do with some of them not being properly finished properly on the nut. So, yeah, I don't know if there's one that's better than the other, but if anyone else can chime in the comments, that would be cool. I don't really know enough, or maybe I haven't compared enough of those against each other to really give you a proper answer. Any chance of seeing some Reverend guitar reviews? That's from David Melbourne. Welcome, man. Hopefully again later on next year. Yes, absolutely. I've only done 3 that go back maybe 5 years ago. So it's been ages. Yeah, I don't have anyone locally that sells them or I can borrow them or anything like that. They're not a guitar that's common. But I do know when I'm away next year, I'll be able to get my hands on some and do some videos. So, yeah, it might be a little while off, but hopefully soon. We've got Dip In here. Welcome. I'm off to do my civic duty and vote. Great show in the blues. Thanks, Simon. Appreciate that. Good stuff. Complicated guitar stud. There you go. Cool. No, brother, I just have a crap stream here. Ah, okay, yeah. So that's all right. I was watching it. I'm thinking, you've green screened yourself. I was certain of it, man. I almost want to say something, but I didn't want to take it the wrong way. Because sometimes when you type stuff, you don't really get like the context of it. So yeah, I think it looked cool. I was just like, man, this looks like something out of the like early 90s or something. It's awesome. No question, just feeling guilty for buying a Mustang GT100 against your advice. Sorry, Shane. Hey, there you go. Look, this is the thing that's everything music related is subjective, right? And everyone has different needs. Everyone has different experience levels. Not everyone will be going out playing live. I've had a Mustang GT100, so they're not aimed at players like myself who want simplicity and who want certain things out of an amplifier, but they are aimed at certain people. Absolutely. It's just very different to what I would be using now. Now, the funny thing is the old Mustang version 2s were unreal. I had the 3 and the 4, and I take them out and play them live, and they sound great in a live mix. What these new ones lack is that live mix sound. They don't sound as good. They're not as full and as full of projection as the old ones. But that doesn't matter for a lot of people. So, man, I tell you what, as long as you enjoy it, that's the main thing, and thanks for the super chat. Cheers. My advice is only in reference to my experience and what I would do if I was in a situation where I had an option to buy something or another, being predominantly a live player. Well, I say that, but I play live every Sunday, basically. Yeah, so I look at it maybe a little bit different, but I also try to keep in context what things are aimed or how things are aimed at different people. So, yeah, that's the kind of thing I always think about in my reviews. I usually say, for me, would I use this live? Yes or no? Or is it good for a home player? So, so I love to green screen myself. That's funny. I tell you what, man, you ever get a green screen sorted out, I'll take a high-res photo of my backdrop and you can just, you can place that behind you and freak everybody out. We've got Guitar Geek. He says, I don't know what NOK50 is, but it sounds like a lot, so thanks, man. I appreciate that. He says, if you could only have one guitar and amp, what would you choose? This is a hard question. It always depends on my mood at the time. You know, there's 2 guitars I'm playing more than anything else. I'm playing my Flying V a lot, and I'm still playing the PRS a lot, you know. So part of me would take my 52 reissue Telecaster because it has so much sentimental value, and I think that might be part of And I love that guitar too. I am still playing that quite a bit as well, but as of right now, it would be hard for me not to want to play the Flying V more. I think it's just a great instrument. I actually have a sort of like a gear rundown video coming up where I talk a bit about this stuff as well, but it would be hard for me to choose between the Tele and the Gibson. Although I love playing the PRS, it is a less expensive guitar, so maybe it might get bumped for the Gibson or the Tele. That's not picking one, but depending on my mood, it could go either way. Now, in terms of amps, just in the ones that I've got, if I couldn't take pedals, I'm taking the Marshall. Marshall is awesome. If I've got my pedal board, it probably changes things up. If we're just talking about stuff I own, like that Tone Master Twin's pretty wild, and I love how light it is. That's great. Would I take it over the Marshall? I don't think I would. The Marshall's probably still the number one for me in my collection right now. I love the Blues Deluxe with my pedals, but I can get a great tone out of that Marshall without any. So I would probably take that. It's such a great amp. So thanks for the super chat, guys. I do appreciate it. Where's NOK? I'm interested to see what that actually is. I don't know what country that is or what currency that is. Norwegian. Oh, there you go. It's a krona. Oh, there we go. Cool. Wow, thank you. I do appreciate that. Thanks, Amanda. I'm a little slow here. My Mustang GT is going to my brother. Awesome stuff. What are you thinking of replacing it with, Jamal? Have you decided? The banker in me is doing the currency exchange in my head. That's funny. I got my first live show next week. Got to practice once your live show is over. You should always be practicing guitar while you're watching a live stream, unless, of course, you're driving. That's what I do. If I'm sitting there watching, not all the time. Depends what time it is. I know when CGS goes live, it's usually like 3 a.m. my time, and I should be asleep. But yeah, usually if I'm watching someone else, I'm sitting there playing guitar. That's a good habit to be in. But yeah, good luck with the first show. That's awesome. I remember the first time I played live at a gig. I remember my first time playing at a jam night as well. So yeah, it's something you won't forget. So good luck. I hope it goes well. Dave Richardson says, is that the Dave Richardson I know? Says the Fender Tone Master Reverb would not become your favorite. It's awesome. Like, out of all the amps, I'm playing it the most, right? I do love it. But just as a simple convenience thing of having like all the channels that you could want in an amp and having all the different gain stages, the Marshall would probably still be the most versatile out of them all. In terms of what I'm using the most, I'm using that more than anything else because it is super light and loud. Yeah, so these are the sort of questions I get, and it really depends on my mood at that particular time. So my Flying V is taking a lot of my playing time from my Les Paul tribute. Oh, yeah, I bet. Yeah. The Flying Vs are great. I'll show you this. Hang on. I actually got one right here. The thing people don't realize about Flying Vs is two things. They're impossible to sit playing down unless you got a strap. But the other thing is they're like super light. So yeah, they just weigh nothing. I don't want to bang it into my computer screen. And your fret access is crazy. You can get like where the pickups are, if you ever need to bend up here. So yeah, the access on the Flying V is just hard to beat. I totally get it. I totally get why that. I don't play my Les Paul at all anymore, and it's a shame. It's such a nice guitar. I don't know don't know if I should keep it or not. But yeah, the Flying V, man, it's great. I love it. He's in the US. Okay, cool. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, one of my friends got the same name, and he's a drummer. He's on one of the live streams we did recently. I wasn't sure if that was him. Fishy Paul says, I've only played live. I was rather drunk and probably sounded rubbish, but it was a lot of fun. If I do it again, I'll stay sober and practice lots. Yeah, just try not to get in the habit of drinking and playing. I don't think it's required. You know, I think it's just a lot of people probably drink to feel more relaxed, but there's a point where you might have too much and, yeah, things aren't very good. It's happened. I've done that before. Especially, I don't drink hardly at all, right? Like, I'm lucky to have one every, maybe nowadays, maybe 2 a month, maybe less. But when I've traveled and I've got jet lag and one of my friends might buy me a drink or something and I play live while I'm away, there's a point where the brain-to-hand coordination doesn't do very good things. So, yeah, there's no need really for that at all. You know, everyone's different, but a lot of guys that drink and play, I think they're thinking they're like living the rock star dream or something. I don't get it. How much better is the Tone Master to the Boss Katana? They're just very different. They are very, very different. One feels more like an actual tube amp, and it doesn't give you any effects. It's just, here's your clean channel, here's your reverb and trem, and that's it. So you do get some effects, but they're, you know, it's a regular amp. In terms of the Twin, it's just a louder, cleaner amp than their Tone Master Deluxe reverb, which I didn't really like as much as the Twin, to be honest. I think if I was to buy one, the Twin would be the one I'd get because it's got more clean headroom, it's louder, and it's not that much heavier. So really, it's got a lot of things going for it, whereas the Katana is like an all-in-one amp. It's probably more suited for people who just want to play at home, that don't have pedals. And I think they're just different. They're aimed at different people. I've actually got sent the Boss Next Tone as well, which I did videos for. My biggest criticism of that is the same thing I have with the Katana. As a live player, I set up my overdrive. It was stored. I got out and I wanted more drive. And I couldn't do anything about it other than get it home and hook it up to a computer. So from that point on, I'm using the clean channel only on it, which turns it into a really great solid-state amp. I'm using my pedal board. And you know what? It handles pedals extremely well. So same with the Katana, which has that sort of solid-state clean channel. It's got its own sort of voicing. And it handles pedals in a different way. The Tone Master, because it's got that digital thing going on, it handles pedals well, much better than any other sort of digital modeling amp I've played. But it still doesn't quite handle it as well as what maybe I got a video coming up about how they handle pedals and the differences between like the Boss and the next and the Tone Master. So stay tuned for that. It might be of interest to you as well. But they're just different. They're aimed at different people, and neither of them are bad. It just depends on what you like. Hey, Michael from Boston. Welcome, man. Scotsman that doesn't drink. I play Gretsch guitars. I have 2 of them. How do these guitars sound through the Reverb Deluxe? Oh, Deluxe Reverb? Should be fine. I mean, like, I had a couple of Deluxe Reverbs over the years, and they're kind of like the most recorded guitar amplifier ever. So I think you'd have no problems getting one of those amps. My suggestion is if you're going to get either a 65 or a 68, get the 65. Has more clean headroom, less white noise. Get a 65. That would be my suggestion. Or if you're going to go for the the Tone Master series, you can do that as well. But I haven't tried a Gretsch with the Tone Master series, but it should be okay. Mel from Wollongong, welcome. We've got Crispy Sid from St. Louis. Louis? I always get that confused. Another place that I read and know I say it, I don't say it wrong, but I know that it's pronounced completely different, is Arkansas. It doesn't look like that when you... Looks like it's Arkansas. Tone Master Fender. Yeah, look, I mean, I haven't tried to Gretsch through one of these amps yet, but I'm sure it'd be fine. You got to just look at this like a clean channel amplifier. So if you like a Fender Twin, that's what you get with this. It doesn't do anything else. It just does a Fender Twin sound really well. So if a Gretsch and a Fender Twin is a good combination, then you should be laughing. Hola from Barcelona. Welcome. That's cool. All right, guys, I might make a move pretty soon. Ladies and gentlemen, I should say, as there's a few ladies in the chat. If you enjoyed this chat or live stream or whatever, please give it a thumbs up. I appreciate that. I don't know how many thumbs up we've got, but if you want to do that, that'd be awesome. Let me just have a check here. I haven't looked. Got 83 people here now. I know this is a bit of a different time of the day to what I normally live stream or whatever, but yeah, maybe I'll do another one coming up at the opposite end of the day. So this was 10 p.m. my time. The next one I do will be 10 a.m. So that'll be p.m. overseas and early here. So I'll definitely do another one before the year is out. If anyone has any last minute questions, happy to answer them. But I think we might be done. And I'll try and time code this. I'll try and do it tonight. Otherwise, it won't get done. I'll just play it back at like 4 times speed or whatever I can and then do it. Time coding these things is a pain when you don't have other people helping you. So, yeah. Arkansas is a dyslexic nightmare. Absolutely, man. Arkansas. That's what it looks like, right? Where's the saw part? Shouldn't it be S-A-W at the end? I always thought it should be Arkansas. Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. And you notice that one other place that's kind of funny, I don't know if this is just an Australian thing, but Las Vegas, right? Everyone says Las Vegas, but it's LAS. I don't know if that's just an Australian thing, but I hear that mispronounced all the time, or either I'm mispronouncing it. But yeah, I always thought, unlike Los Angeles, it's Las Vegas, but not Las Vegas, which I hear a lot of as well. So it's confusing. I don't know. You and Rick got a jam for channel? I'm not too sure what that means, man. Sorry, Jimmy, I don't know what you mean. You and Rick got to jam. So we did a jam a little while back. Just type in the blues jam number 2 and it should come up. Ever done a video on guitar buying tips for us fellow lefties? No, but I did one on 7 essential things to know before buying a guitar. Just type that into YouTube. It'll come up. It's had a lot of views. And that was a lot of things that I'd learned over the years, and I made a lot of those mistakes. So, yeah, it was back when I wasn't really talking to the camera properly. It was weird. I wasn't as comfortable back then. But, yeah, that video is still pretty relevant. I may redo it, actually. It probably needs to be redone. So, yeah, we'll see how we go. Oh, make videos more regularly. Okay, sorry, Jimmy. Absolutely. Yeah, Rick doesn't live close to me, but we're going to hopefully do more coming up. He's a great dude. All right, guys. Well, I tell you what, have a great evening. DMS, welcome and goodbye. Any thoughts on the MI Audio Super Crunch pedal? I haven't tried that one, mate, but MI Audio make good stuff. All right. Well, have a great rest of the day or evening or wherever you are. Hope to time code this after the fact. Thanks to everyone who used the super chat too. I do appreciate it. I'll give you guys a shout out again. We had Todd Steele. Thank you, man. Fat Philosopher. Love that name. That's funny. And Guitar Geek. Thank you so much, guys. I do appreciate that. You don't have to do it, but it is appreciated. So thank you. And we'll catch you on the next one. So thanks again. And odds are I'll probably try and do another one, I reckon, in the next 7 to 10 days. We'll do one before the end of the year, 100%. And I need to be doing not more of these. I don't want to overdo it, right? There's channels that overdo the live streams, but 1 a month is good, but 2 would be better. 1 at each end of the day. So that's what we'll try for. All right, guys. Thanks again, and I will catch you on... Where's my little screen? Over here. Catch you on the next one. See you guys and girls. See ya.